All right, Rob, you can take it away.
Okay, I'm Rob Winter, and I wanted to show you an easier way of developing. You can actually use CodeKit to do a development of an existing website or something you have locally without recoding the whole site. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. It's a little hard to describe. So I'm going to set my desktop here. So give me a moment. Okay. All right. What I'm running off of is I'm using Flywheel's local sites, and what they do is you can boot up a site, a WordPress site, and develop it from there. The interesting thing for me is I do a lot of work that is very particular in terms of how picky I am with the design. I want things to look a certain way. I want things to function a certain way. And what CodeKit allows me to do is allows me to put together, to develop stuff, to develop the CSS of it and not destroy the site itself. So in other words, I can develop it, compare it against the old site, and once I'm done, bring all the files over and update. So what I'm going to show you is I've got over here on the left, if you can see it, I've got this BioTrax lab site, which I've been working on. And this is the actual site coming off of local. This is the one coming off of CodeKit. Let me just throw up a quick diagram of this. As you can see, Flywheel is actually doing the server, developing the web page, and then CodeKit has its own server, but it's intercepting the website and putting it up on its own server. Then we do all the modifications through Sublime Text. CodeKit watches the directories, updates everything, and basically what happens is you've got two separate sites. So, for example, here's the Flywheel one, and here is the CodeKit. Now, in here, this is actually CodeKit. And if you look here, what I can do is I can actually change the H1s of the right-hand side. So I'm changing them from blue to green. And you'll see it updates in virtually real time. You see it turning green. I can turn the H2s into purple. And if you look, you can compare the original site with the new site that you're working on. You can change anything you want with CSS. So for example, I'm going to change the width over here of the content. And you can see it doesn't fit. I can keep adjusting it until I get it just the way I want it to. CodeKit does some very interesting, it works with a lot of other frameworks, and it works with JavaScript and a lot of other frameworks. I particularly use it for CSS because I get into a lot of complex coding on this stuff. Here's just a basic overview of how this works. What I did was I put together a PowerPoint, because what happens with CodeKit is if you do not do it exactly the way it likes it, it doesn't work. And it becomes extremely frustrating. So basically, what it is, you start both environments. You start your local and you start your CodeKits, both servers. Once you get done with that, they have to have the exact same pathways. So let me just show you. Here's where the demo is coming from for CodeKit. And here is where Flywheel, the local, is coming up. So for example, you can see WP content here. You can see WP content here. you can see you don't need any of these other folders, but you do need the themes folder. So you can see the themes folder here, and then you need the biotracks folder, which is where the theme resides. What it's doing now is CodeKit is actually throwing in, you'll see this directory over here. CodeKit is actually throwing in the styles CSS. And that's exactly where it's saving it. And that's where it's pulling it from. CodeKit, I use SASS with this. CodeKit will compile SASS. It will compile it with an auto prefixer. And it will do you can set the auto prefixer to go back as far as you want. Best thing to do when you're setting up CodeKit is to go into local, view your site, and then if you see down here, copy the actual address of the site itself, but cut off the end, only go as far as .local. Go back to CodeKit, and in the project section, there's a subfolder that talks about browser refreshing. Paste it in down here where it says external browser, external address, and make sure that you turn on the override remote CSS with local copies. Then after you're done with that, you can boot up, hang on a sec. Go into the section where the URLs are, where the server is. Make sure the TLS is turned on, because if you don't have that, if you have SSL set up and approved in local, and you don't have TLS on, you'll just get a blank screen. So once you set that up, you're fine. After that, what I generally like to do is I like to do two browsers. I like to use the Safari browser for the actual website itself as it's coming off, and then I like to use Chrome for development because the development tools are much stronger. Sometimes Firefox is very helpful because Firefox can find things that Chrome doesn't, but 99% of the time, Chrome is the preferred browser. And if you see down here, you'll see that, excuse me, you'll see that in local, SSL is set as trusted over here. Basically what happens is once you're done with that, make sure that your CSS file goes to where you goes where you want it to go in the directory, appropriate directory where the website is going to read it. You can also there we go. You can also create a source map. You can set how you want to minify it. You can set all sorts of other compiling software to proof it, make sure that it's working, debugging, making sure it's working the way you want it to. Then once you're all done, once you've got that all set up, all you need to do is right-click on any of the folders that you want to work in and select Other, and that will bring up, you can bring up Sublime Text from there. Once you're done, everything is a watch folder at this point. So basically anything you change in Sublime Text, as I showed you before, once you save it, it will automatically compile it in with CodeKit. It'll update the selected browser, and it'll create a log of the compiling. The great thing is if you're making any kind of mistakes, it'll automatically come up with an orange button and tell you what the mistake is, and you can track it down from there. So here, for example, something I just demoed, the live website is the one on the left, the development website is the one on the right, and then here down below is Sublime Text with the actual CSS coding. If you guys want to copy the PowerPoint, just email me. I have this set, the email set in the notes over here. And that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Rob. I'm asking if anyone has any questions. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat window. And again, to get to that chat window, you bring up, you just hover over the app, you bring up the menu, and there's a show conversation button. Please do not unmute your mics to ask questions. Hey, Rob, Mervin's asking is CodeKit only for the Macintosh? Or
Yes.
It is,
Yeah,
okay.
so there's only a Macintosh version. It's extremely reasonable in terms of cost, though.
Great, thank you. Good question, Mervin. You get a star. Any other questions? Really? That's it? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Rob.
Okay.
Thank you for doing this online. I know it was new, but I appreciate you did a great job. Thank you.
It's a bit nerve-wracking.
But you did it, man, and you're awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.